It was a cold evening in Cincinnati, Ohio. The streets were bustling with people heading home from work, wrapped in thick coats to shield themselves from the biting wind. Among the crowd, unnoticed by most, was a small child, shivering in tattered clothes. His shoes were worn down to almost nothing, and his face showed the telltale signs of hunger and exhaustion. This young boy, no older than 7, had spent the entire day wandering the streets, hoping for some kindness from a stranger. His stomach growled as he clutched a torn paper bag that once held scraps of food he had managed to gather from a nearby diner's trash. But tonight, luck had not been on his side. Desperation led him to approach a man standing outside a cafe. He looked up at the tall figure in front of him, a man in a navy blue coat with a strong, serious expression. The boy had no idea who he was speaking to, only that he needed help. "Sir," the child said hesitantly, his voice barely above a whisper, "do you have anything to eat?" The man looked down, startled. That man was J.D. Vance, A.U.S. Senator and best-selling author, known for his humble beginnings and advocacy for working-class Americans. Unlike many, J.D. Vance had not forgotten where he came from. He, too, had once known poverty, had once struggled through life's hardships, had once felt the sting of hunger. For a moment, J.D. Vance said nothing. His heart ached as he looked into the boy's eyes, innocent, desperate, yet still filled with a flicker of hope. He crouched down to the child's level and asked, "What's your name?" The boy hesitated before answering. "Daniel," he murmured. J.D. Vance reached into his coat pocket and handed Daniel a few crisp bills. "Let's get you something warm to eat," he said gently. But he didn't stop there. Instead of simply giving the child money and walking away, he took Daniel by the hand and led him inside the cafe. The warmth of the cafe was a stark contrast to the cold outside. The smell of fresh coffee and baked bread filled the air. J.D. Vance guided Daniel to a table near the counter, then waved over a waitress. "Give him whatever he wants," he instructed, placing extra money on the table to ensure the child could eat more than just one meal. Daniel's eyes widened as he stared at the menu. It had been so long since he had been given the choice to pick something to eat. His small fingers traced over the pictures of burgers, pancakes, and bowls of steaming soup. The waitress, noticing his hesitation, smiled warmly. "How about some hot chocolate while you decide?" Daniel nodded eagerly. He wrapped his frozen fingers around the warm mug as he took his first sip, his body instantly relaxing. As the boy ate, J.D. Vance sat across from him, listening to his story. Daniel had been homeless for months after his mother lost her job and they were evicted from their apartment. They had been living in shelters, sometimes in cars, struggling to find food every day. His mother was out looking for work, and he had wandered off, too ashamed to ask her for more food when he knew they barely had any. J.D. Vance felt a deep sense of responsibility. This boy, like so many others, was caught in a system that often failed the most vulnerable. He knew handing him a meal wasn't enough. This was about something bigger. After Daniel had eaten his fill, J.D. Vance made a call. Within the hour, a local shelter that specialized in helping homeless families had been notified. Arrangements were made for Daniel and his mother to have a safe place to stay, warm meals, and access to job assistance programs. Before they parted ways, J.D. Vance placed a reassuring hand on Daniel's shoulder. "You're not alone, kid," he said. "Things are going to get better." Daniel's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but gratitude. "Thank you, sir," he whispered. As J.D. Vance walked away that night, he knew this wasn't just about one child. It was a reminder of why he fought so hard for families like Daniel's. He vowed to continue pushing for policies that addressed poverty, homelessness, and the struggles of the working class. Daniel's story spread quickly, touching the hearts of many. People across the country were moved by J.D. Vance's kindness, reminding them that sometimes the smallest act of compassion could change a life forever.